The Great Depression hit Canada like a tidal wave. From 1929 to 1939, the economy collapsed. Unemployment soared to 30% and desperation gripped the nation. Farms failed as wheat prices plummeted and drought ravaged the prairies. In cities like Winnipeg, public relief costs skyrocketed from $31,000 in 1927 to $1.6 million by 1930. Against this backdrop of scarcity and fear, Canada's immigration policies took a drastic turn, closing doors to newcomers and forcing out many already here. Today, we'll dive deep into how these policies shaped a decade of hardship, their human costs, and their lasting legacy. Before the Depression, Canada welcomed immigrants to fuel its growth. Between 1910 and 1929, millions arrived, many from Europe, to work in factories, mines, or settle the prairies. But when the stock market crashed in 1929, the mood shifted. Jobs just vanished, and Canadians feared there wasn't enough to go around. The government responded with sweeping restrictions. By 1930, orders in council, emergency decrees, limited immigration to four narrow groups: British or American citizens, agriculturalists with enough wealth to start farms, specific workers like miners or domestics, and immediate families of Canadian residents. The impact was stark. Immigration dropped from 169,000 in 1929 to just under 12,000 by 1935. It has stayed below 17,000 for the rest of the decade. But the government didn't just stop new arrivals, they went after those already here. Deportations surged, with nearly 30,000 immigrants forcibly removed between 1929 and 1939. In 1929, fewer than 2,000 were deported. By 1932, the number peaked at over 7,600 in a single year. The reasons were often vague: unemployment, illness, criminality, or being a public charge, meaning anyone relying on public relief. But it wasn't just economics. Political activists, especially those linked to socialism or communism, were targeted as threats. The process was often arbitrary, with little chance for appeal. Public opinion drove these policies as well. Municipalities, drowning in relief costs, pushed for deportations. In Toronto, a relief officer claimed half the people on public aid shouldn't have been admitted to Canada. In Winnipeg, relief costs exploded, and local leaders demanded action. The deportation system strained Canada's infrastructure. In Montreal and Halifax, detention facilities were packed, with officials struggling to process thousands of cases. Steamship companies responsible for transporting deportees complained about the administrative chaos. Perhaps the darkest chapter was Canada's treatment of Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi persecution. In 1939, the MS St. Louis, carrying over 900 Jewish passengers, was denied entry to Canada after being turned away from Cuba and the United States. Canada's refusal reflected not just economic fears, but also rising anti-Semitism and nativism. Prime Minister Mackenzie King's government prioritized domestic concerns over humanitarian needs, a decision that remains one of Canada's most controversial legacies. Thousands of Jewish refugees were denied sanctuary during the 1930s. Let's take a look at the numbers. In 1929, Canada welcomed 169,000 immigrants, but by 1935, the number was under 12,000. Meanwhile, deportations climbed from 2,000 in 1929 to over 7,600 in 1932, with nearly 30,000 removed over the decade. These figures tell a story of a nation turning inwards, prioritizing economic survival over its tradition of openness. The Great Depression reshaped Canada's immigration landscape. Economic desperation and fear of outsiders led to policies that prioritized Canadians first, at the expense of vulnerable immigrants and refugees. The human stories, families torn apart, individuals deported for their beliefs, and refugees turned away, remind us of the cost of these decisions. As Canada rebuilt after the Depression, it slowly reopened its doors. But the legacy of this era remains a point of reflection. How do we balance economic pressure with our humanitarian values? Is a question that still resonates today and very strongly. If you found this video insightful, give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and let me know in the comments what other topics you would like to explore. I'm Ian with the Remax Golfi team, helping you understand the forces that shape Canada. I'll see you on the next one.